Hello, welcome back to Balance Act. My name is Juan, and today I want to talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. I'm aging myself big time. I've been watching a lot of videos on it actually lately. The sexuality. I've seen other opinions, all extremes. I've seen TED Talks given by prostitutes, legit prostitutes, sex workers. I've seen Jordan Peterson go the fuck off on Jay Shetty's thing about psychopaths and us delivering our women to psychopaths. I've seen it all, and it's very interesting. I've had a jaded past with sex myself, and sex is very important to the human experience. Obviously, and just from a biological standpoint, it's how we come into the world, right? Through our mothers, our fathers and our mothers coming together. Our politics over the last 10 years, sex has been a big, big part of our politics when it comes down to gender identity, transgender rights, and so forth. So sexuality is very, very important to the human experience. I think we take it way too seriously, but it is also a very serious thing, especially when someone is violated or sex is used as a weapon, so to speak, against them. I was watching a lot of great YouTube channel, highly recommended, but it can get very dark, so be careful and listen to some of these people's experiences. It's called Soft White Underbelly, with its individual interviews, very interesting people of all walks of life. And I watched a couple of his interviews of him interviewing people who've been sex trafficked and an ex-porn star. And it's wonderful to get the female's perspective on sex and listen to a few different scientists giving TED Talks about it. Men and women definitely view sex differently. And that goes from a biological standpoint, psychological standpoint, and emotional standpoint. It seems you could boil it down that men have sex to feel loved. Women, in order to feel love, have sex. There's a difference there. Also, there's a difference, obviously, many of us know, in orgasm, where men obviously orgasm 80% of the time they are having sex, where women, it's like between 60 and 40%, depending on the situation. I've seen arguments also for where promiscuity is a good thing. Hookups are healthy if done responsibly. And I've seen arguments where that's the downfall of society. So let's take a look at this, as I like to do, from a metaphysical and a practical standpoint. So the practical side of sex, it's incredibly important to have it for our well-being, for our feeling of connection, especially for men. It's incredibly important for men to have sex in a relationship, to feel loved, to feel valued. I personally think there's a danger there to be dependent on sex for those things, but that is a biological need that men have. Also, men have a biological need to release, ejaculate, so to speak. So for men, sex is a very strong necessity. Not so much for women, from what I've been learning. Women, a lot of these things you may just instinctively know, or just know just from living life. But from the research I've been doing over the last few days, the videos I've been watching, women enjoy sex. Women love sex. And certain women, that's obviously a spectrum. Certain women love sex as much as any man ever would. And some women are just like, yeah, something to do, But there's definitely a spectrum there. And sex seems to be important for a woman not to feel connected as a man does, but all human beings feel safer after having sex. And this is still talking about from a biological, practical standpoint. We feel safer after having sex. We feel like we can trust the person we just had sex with. And we immediately start to form connections due to the release, a huge release of serotonin and oxytocin. you watched my videos about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. I was talking about that shit so much. You can mispronounce oxytocin all the damn time. But yeah, these two wonderful hormones, they make you feel safe. They refer to the oxytocin as the cuddle hormone. You know, as you cuddle and you hold the person, you feel safer. So male or female, sex allows you to feel safe, which also can be a danger. It's one of the dangers of living a promiscuous lifestyle or hooking up, just hitting and splitting, as we used to say back in the day. You know, so one night stands, having those can be very dangerous for either partner emotionally because you can get very attached because there's something going on within you biologically that's telling you this person is safe. I'm safe with this person. So if you do it irresponsibly and you're hooking up with the wrong person, you put yourself in a dangerous situation. Or you can also put yourself in a situation where you now find yourself being dependent or latched onto an individual that might not have nothing to do with you. Male or female, you can have a one night stand, have sex, and not even think about that person the next day. But then that person that you slept with, they might be very attached to you at this point. Or you may become very attached to this person you had a one night stand with. So you have to be careful with your emotions and careful with your body when if you decide to live a promiscuous lifestyle. Now, an argument I saw towards living a promiscuous lifestyle was by this woman. I think she was a therapist, something like that. She obviously herself appreciates a loose lifestyle. She even recommended a book called The Educated Slut or something like that. Or anyway, so her argument for promiscuity or hookups or living a single life where you have multiple partners was that it was good for your confidence, it was good for novelty, and it's good for your mental health. Allows you to feel more connected, more confident, um, allows you to make more friends in the sense that you feel more confident, you feel more comfortable around people. You have this need that's being taken care of, it's being relieved, and you're doing so in a way that's empowering. It's empowering to you. So she said that promiscuity can lead to empowerment. And I suppose it can. There's obviously a divide between male and female within our culture. Men were almost encouraged to live that lifestyle, but then women are shamed for living that lifestyle. Slut shaming. Sometimes men can get slut shamed too, depending on the situation, but definitely women. And she also said that too. She also said that you should kind of go down a list of things like if you're not comfortable with the single lifestyle, the potential of attaching to someone, all these kind of things, then you probably shouldn't be living a promiscuous lifestyle. If you're uncomfortable with certain downsides of living a promiscuous lifestyle. She also said always obviously use condoms, which is another risk. Obviously, living that lifestyle is sexual transmitted diseases. Now, from a more spiritual standpoint, like I said, I was watching Jordan Peterson being interviewed by Jay Shetty, and he went off on a tangent. It was some things actually I kind of agreed with, and some things made a lot of sense. As usual, Jordan Peterson, from my standpoint, I find him to be a little too black and white, a little too dogmatic in his opinions and beliefs. It's like, you gotta do it this way. Everyone did it this way. You want to be perfect. All right, slow down. In my opinion, slow down, bro. Slow down. But he made some really good points. One thing about psychopathy of men. So there's a lot of narcissists out there. It seems to be an uptick in narcissism, neuroticisms, all these mental health problems where people just convince themselves they're the shit and their only way of getting things is to, well, frankly, at the expense of others. So with this uptick in narcissism and with the sexual revolution, also with birth control, so women are allowed to get out there and just basically have as much sex as they want to without the consequence of pregnancy. And what he said that we have delivered our women to psychotics. And his argument was that women being out there, excuse me, women being able to be out there and just have a bunch of sex and be single and have hookups, they're coming across men who appear to be confident, who appear to be strong and masculine, but they're really not. They're insecure assholes, but they put up this appearance, and they're, and they seem to be courageous because they're approaching them in public and talking to them and taking a chance. Really, just out their damn minds, and they're willing to do anything and everything to get what they want. And those are what he calls the psychotics. So we're delivering women with this free lifestyle to psychotic men. And I saw that reflected actually in an interview with the porn star on the soft white underbelly. And this porn star, ex-porn star, she basically was an illustration for what Jordan Peterson was arguing for. She was a young woman. She was abused and molested. It's kind of a typical story, unfortunately, for women who end up in that industry. She was abused and molested as a child, and then she wanted to escape that lifestyle. And her dream, she said, when she was a teenager, was to be a housewife. She said, I just want to be a housewife. I just want to start a family, which seemed very good and wholesome. But then she got caught up with one bad guy after another bad guy, from the bad example of her father and the friends that keep around, being molested by her cousin. And so then she just went down this freaking hole of dealing with these men that first appeared to be great guys, strong, confident, good looking. I got you. I'll take care of you. Why don't you move in with me? And they would rape her, drug her, deliver her up to their friends. They would, she would have sex with two men at once, unwillingly. Basically, she was raped by people she thought she was in a relationship with, moving in with these guys and then leaving one, and then now forms a psychopathy within her, where now she's seeking these guys out subconsciously. So now she keeps dating these toxic men over and over again, and then they like, hey, why don't you take a picture? Why don't you do a photo shoot with me? And then it's just slowly but surely, as she allowed her boundaries to fall, she went from taking little Playboy-like photos and bikinis to doing hardcore porn. And it just led down this spiral for her. And it was horrible. And, she eventually came out of it. She's now, I think, a Christian, and she's married, and, she's good. But but she didn't want that lifestyle. She didn't want to be a porn star at first. She just fell into it. And it's because she fell into one relationship after another with narcissistic men, psychotics. I mean, these crazy lunatics doing drugs, making her do drugs, raping her with their friends. And it's supposed to be a person that she was supposed to trust. And it was like, wow. So there is something to what Jordan Peterson was saying. And then there's also the idea of you can make your own decisions on how you want to live your life. If you want to be promiscuous, be promiscuous. But my thing is consent. Always make sure consent's involved. Your consent and the other person's consent. And it should be 100%, no questions asked, consent. And even when you consent to having sex, now the acts within the bedroom, now we need to talk about that and consent to that. Are we doing oral sex? Are we doing anal sex? Are we doing these things? Are we just doing one position, two positions? Are you comfortable with this position? Am I comfortable with this position? Am I comfortable for going this long? Are you comfortable with me going this long or this short? You gotta have consent in these things. It don't have to be like sit there and put your glasses on and have a lawyer next to your bed before you have sex. And it doesn't have to even be a conversation per se, but it needs to be 100% at the least vibrationally, instinctively, I am consenting to doing this with you. And when someone's not 100% in there. Okay? So if they're not 100% in there with you, don't do it. And that's my opinion about sex and sexuality. It's incredibly important, but it's also something that's incredibly enjoyable. It brings us closer to God. And if you don't even believe in that, all of those wonderful, delicious hormones that are released in us allow us to build up our ability to be better people, better communicate, and better enjoy this thing called life. And that's even including sex with yourself. But be responsible in all things. I would definitely say avoid porn, but hey, if you're into porn, watch porn, whatever. But once again, be responsible. Like you like to eat meat, hey, you like to eat meat, but know where the source of what you are enjoying is coming from. Just consider that. Consider the people involved in making your entertainment. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Balance Act. Sorry I went a little bit long today, but may you find between the practical and metaphysical teachings of this world your own path to your own well-being. Thanks for joining me again. God bless.